No one remembers the exact moment when the first human was taken. History prefers clean timelines. Reality does not. It happened without ceremony. No warning. No declaration of war. One moment, he was walking through an alien transit corridor. A visitor, an outsider, tolerated but unseen. The next moment, the lights changed. Not red. Not flashing. They dimmed. And that was how he knew he had crossed an invisible line. The aliens did not shout. They did not threaten. They simply moved. 3 figures stepped forward. Tall, armored, faces hidden behind smooth, expressionless elms. Their weapons never aimed at his heart. They aimed at his future. He raised his hands slowly. Not because he was afraid, but because every instinct told him resistance would be educational. A translator drone hovered near his ear. Human presence detected. Jurisdiction violated. Compliance is mandatory. He wanted to argue. Wanted to explain treaties, permits, misunderstandings. But the galaxy did not care about his paperwork. Metal restraints closed around his wrists. Cold, precise, gentle in the way only something truly powerful can afford to be. As they led him forward, he noticed something strange. No one watched. Aliens passed by without slowing down. No gasps. No fear. To them, this was not an arrest. It was maintenance. He finally understood something humans learn too late in most galaxies. Mercy is not a law. It is a choice. And here, it was not chosen. The corridor opened into a vast chamber. High ceilings, floating architecture, symbols etched into the air itself. This was not a police station. This was a filter. Those who passed through were sorted. Those who failed disappeared from public memory. As the guard stopped, one of them tilted its head slightly. The translator spoke again, calm, almost polite. Your species is statistically insignificant. Your survival probability is irrelevant. Your case will be evaluated. Evaluated, not judged, not sentenced. Evaluated, like a variable in an equation that already had an answer. He looked down at his hands, bound in alien metal, and felt something heavier than fear settle into his chest. Understanding. This galaxy was not cruel. Cruelty required intention. This galaxy was indifferent. And indifference, he realized, was far worse. As the doors ahead began to open, revealing a depth of blue light, and something that hummed like a living thought. He wondered, not for the first time, if being human had ever truly prepared him for a universe that did not need him at all. Fade to silence.
The door didn't slam shut. It sealed, softly, politely, as if apologizing for what came next. The cell wasn't small. That was the first unsettling thing about it. It was wide, tall, almost respectful. No chains on the walls. No bars on the door. Just light. A pale, breathing glow that seemed to pulse with his heartbeat, as if the room itself was listening. He stood still, waiting for pain, waiting for interrogation, waiting for something that made sense. Nothing happened. Minutes passed, or maybe hours. Time didn't behave normally here. There was no clock, no shadow, no sound, except a low hum that never rose, never faded. Not silence. Observation. He finally sat down, slow and careful, as if the floor might object. It didn't. That's when he noticed the markings. They weren't scratches or symbols carved into the walls. They were after images, as if other prisoners had once stood there, thought there, feared there, and the room remembered them. He reached out, then stopped himself. Some instincts don't need proof. A voice came then, not loud, not from any direction. You are not scheduled for execution. His shoulders loosened before he could stop them. Relief, sharp and immediate. Then the voice continued. You are scheduled for assessment. The word hung in the air longer than it should have. Assessment meant waiting. Waiting meant uncertainty. Uncertainty meant imagination. And imagination is cruel when it has time. He wondered what the galaxy saw when it looked at him. A threat? A resource? A mistake? Or worse, an inconvenience? He pressed his palm against the light wall. It felt warm, alive. The wall responded, not by opening, but by acknowledging him. Like a nod. That was when he understood something important. This cell wasn't meant to punish. It was meant to hold. Not his body, his decision. He wasn't here because of what he had done. He was here because of what he might do. Outside the cell, beyond layers of matter and meaning, something or someone was watching. Not with urgency, not with anger, with interest. The hum deepened just slightly. A presence passed nearby. He couldn't see it, but the air changed, like a thought entering a room. He didn't look up, didn't speak. Some moments demand stillness. He sat there, breathing slowly, feeling smaller than he ever had, and yet strangely chosen, because in a universe that erased most things without pause, he was being kept. The light dimmed, not into darkness, but into something softer. Waiting ended. Something else was about to begin. Fade to silence. The light in the cell changed. Not brighter, not darker, deeper. He felt it before he saw anything. A pressure, not on his body, but on his thoughts. The hum that had followed him since his arrival slowed, as if the prison itself was holding its breath. Footsteps echoed outside the cell. Slow, measured, not guards. Something else. He stood up instinctively, not because he was ordered to, but because some presences do not allow you to remain seated. The air folded inward, light bent, and then she was there. She did not arrive through the door. She did not break the cell. Reality simply made space for her. Her form shimmered, metal and light woven together, eyes glowing with a calm that felt older than stars. She looked at him the way one looks at a question they already know the answer to. He tried to speak, tried to ask her name. His voice failed him. She noticed a faint shift in her expression, not pity, but understanding. You are not afraid of death, she said gently. You are afraid of meaninglessness. The words landed with surgical precision. He swallowed. She stepped closer. The energy walls did not resist her. They bowed. Your species believes freedom is the highest value, she continued. But freedom without purpose is only delay. She raised one hand. The restraints around his wrists dissolved like mist. Not unlocked. Dismissed. His heart pounded. This was not mercy. This was authority. I can end this, she said. The cell, the judgment, the forgetting. She met his eyes. I can save you. Hope surged, dangerous, uncontrollable. Then she finished the sentence. In exchange, you will join me. The room seemed to tilt. Not as a prisoner, she clarified. Not as a servant. A pause, a deliberate one. As mine. Time fractured. 1,000 questions screamed in his head. What does that mean? For how long? Why me? She answered the last one without being asked. Because you are capable of choosing, even when the cost is forever. She extended her hand. Light gathered around it. Not chains, but paths. Stay, she said softly, and be erased with the rest. Another pause. Longer. Or walk with me, and never walk alone again. He looked at the cell, the walls, the silence that would follow him into nothingness. Then he looked at her, and understood the truth no one ever tells you. Some rescues are just another kind of capture. His fingers trembled, not from fear, from the weight of choice. He reached out. Cut to silence. The cell was behind him now. The light that had caged him no longer followed. His steps echoed through the alien hall, wide, cathedral-like, alive with currents of light that flowed beneath transparent floors. He was free. At least, that's what the word used to mean. The air felt different outside the cell. Not lighter, heavier, as if the universe itself had shifted its expectations of him. He looked down at his hands. No restraints, no marks, and yet they didn't feel the same. Freedom, he realized, doesn't always remove weight. Sometimes it changes where the weight sits. Behind him, at a measured distance, she stood, not walking beside him, not following, waiting. The Ascendra did not rush him. She never needed to. The hall responded to her presence. Lights softened as she passed, structures aligned. Space itself seemed more obedient. He felt small again, not insignificant, just aware. Every step forward pulled him further from the life he understood. Human corridors were built for urgency. Alien halls were built for continuation. Nothing here expected him to leave. He passed figures, aliens of forms and materials he couldn't name. They did not stare. They did not whisper. They simply acknowledged, as one acknowledges a storm that has already chosen its direction. He wanted to turn back, not to the cell, but to the version of himself who still believed escape meant return. That version was gone. The Ascendra finally spoke, her voice calm, unhurried. "Do not mistake this for generosity," she said. "I did not free you so you could walk away." He stopped, slowly. "Then why?" he asked, his voice steady despite the tremor beneath it. She stepped closer, still not beside him, but near enough that the space between them felt deliberate. "Because chains are easy," she replied. "What you walk into now is choice." Choice. The word felt heavier than any restraint he had worn. He resumed walking, not because he was ordered to, but because something deep within him understood that stopping here would mean being left behind. And some paths, once open, do not wait. As the hall widened and light shifted into unfamiliar colors, he felt it clearly now. He was not leaving captivity. He was entering a different kind of life. A life where freedom did not mean absence of consequence, but acceptance of it. He did not look back, not because he wasn't afraid, but because fear, he was learning, was no longer the thing guiding his steps. Fade to silence. At first, he thought it was coincidence. The way doors opened before they reached them. The way conversations softened when she entered the room. The way eyes followed him, not with suspicion, but with calculation. He told himself it was because he was human, because he was new, because he didn't belong. That explanation was easier. Time passed differently near her. Days folded into moments. Moments stretched into something heavier. And slowly, patterns began to form. He noticed how she listened, not like a ruler waiting to speak, but like someone weighing futures. He watched her stand before councils older than recorded history, their voices sharp, their disagreements precise. And yet, when she raised her hand, silence obeyed. Once, when the chamber emptied, he finally asked the question that had been sitting in his chest. "Why am I here?" She did not answer immediately. She walked to the edge of the hall instead, looking out at a city that glowed like a living constellation. "Do you know," she said softly, "how many lives pass through my reach every cycle?" He shook his head. "Millions," she continued. "Some saved, some lost, most forgotten." She turned to face him then. Her eyes did not glow brighter. They grew quieter. "You were not forgotten," she said. The words landed gently and somehow shattered something inside him. He had survived before, escaped danger before, but no one had ever said this to him. Not like that. "I watched you long before the cell," she went on. "Your choices, your restraint, your refusal to become what the galaxy expects when it pushes." He felt heat rise behind his eyes. Not pride, recognition. You did not beg, she said. You did not rage. You waited. A pause. Deliberate. That is rare. The truth began to take shape then. Slow. Undeniable. The cell had not been a test of endurance. It had been a mirror. He remembered the moment she freed him. The way the restraints dissolved. The way the prison bowed. That had not been mercy. That had been confirmation. I did not save you because you were helpless, Ascendra said. I saved you because you were capable. He lowered his gaze, breathing unevenly. Capable of what? He asked quietly. She stepped closer, not towering, not dominating, equal distance. Of standing beside me, she said, not above, not beneath. The hall seemed to listen. He understood it fully now. In a universe where power consumed everything it touched, she had not chosen strength. She had chosen judgment. Chosen someone who could say no and still stay. Chosen someone who could walk freely and still return. Chosen him. The weight of it pressed into his chest, not crushing, but anchoring. Freedom had once meant escape. Now, it meant responsibility. He met her gaze, and for the first time since leaving the cell, he did not feel like he was walking into the unknown. He felt like the unknown had been walking toward him all along. Some lives are saved by chance, others are shaped by choice, and some are claimed by destiny without ever being asked. Fade to silence. The city stretched endlessly before him. Towers of light, bridges of energy, skies layered with movement and silence. This world no longer felt foreign. That realization unsettled him more than fear ever had. He stood at the edge of the platform, the wind carrying unfamiliar scents, unfamiliar gravity pressing against familiar bones. Once, he would have searched for a way back, a path home, a memory to cling to. Now, home felt like a concept that belonged to someone else. Behind him, the presence he had grown accustomed to remained still. Ascendra did not speak. She never needed to fill silence. She let it work. He knew, without turning, that she was watching him, not to see if he would run, but to see who he had become. The galaxy moved on around them, alliances forming, wars delayed, decisions rippling outward, and yet this moment felt isolated, suspended, as if eternity itself had paused to listen. He exhaled slowly. There was anger still, at the choice that hadn't truly been a choice, at the path that closed the moment it opened. But beneath it, something steadier had formed. Acceptance. Not surrender. Ownership. He finally spoke. If I walk forward, he said quietly, there is no return. The answer came immediately. No, Ascendra replied. He nodded. That was all the confirmation he needed. He took a step, then another, each one lighter than the last, as if the universe itself was adjusting to his decision. He had not looked back, not at the city behind him, not at the life that could no longer reach him, because some bargains are not made for survival. They are made for meaning. Ascendra joined him then, not ahead, not behind, beside. The light around them shifted, paths unfolding into distances no map could define. And as they moved forward, two figures against the vastness of everything, he understood the final truth. Freedom is not the absence of chains. It is the choice of which eternity you belong to. And he had chosen. Fade to silence.